to augmented reality with the Merge Cube. We're using CoSpaces to put some augmented reality onto our cube. So this video, I'd like to show you how to add some text. They're text markers to be able to show information. So it's really cool adding the objects and making them animate and move around. But we want our students to be able to show what they know, and sometimes that requires them giving us some information in the form of text. So I'm going to go back into my space that has my cow and my pig that we animated the last time. Hopefully you've spent some time adding some different objects, maybe on the sides or the front or whatever, and you've animated them to do some really cool stuff, and also when you click on it, it does some cool things as well. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to just show you how to add the text marker, and I'm going to show you how to have it show up and go back, so that way it only shows up when you click on something, and then it kind of goes back invisible when it's done. So to get started, I'm going to click on the library, and under the building section you'll find your text markers. Now I like to use just the plain text because it kind of floats out there in no man's land. You're welcome to use the text panel as well, but like I said, I prefer to use the text by itself. So I'm going to pull this off over into the side. I'm going to go ahead and minimize that little window there at the bottom. And you get to choose where you want to put this, and students, have the freedom to do that as well. I like just putting mine out off to the side. You don't want to put it too far out, because when you are looking at this with your cube, you won't be able to see it. So I'm going to click on this, and now I'm going to right click, and first I'm going to name it something, because if you have more than one text box, it will get confusing which you're looking for. So I'm just going to call this cow text. I'm going to go ahead and hit the code, tell it to using code blocks, and then what I need to do is I need to actually click on the word text here so I can put what I want to say. And I'm going to make this really simple. This, if you're teaching a very young grade, maybe you would just have a simple sentence or phrase. If you're teaching older students, you'd want them to explain something about their object. I'm just going to put watch the cow move. Okay, that's just to show you that this works, and hopefully you'll come up with something more clever than I did. You can make the size bigger or smaller, and basically what I've done when I make it bigger and smaller, the same thing can be done when you do this. Okay, just by making it bigger and smaller, which we did with our objects. Now I'm going to raise this up a little bit. There we go. And you notice if I rotate it, it rotates that pane. That pane is off to the side, and it's high enough to where I should be able to see it whenever I get into looking at it with the Merge Cube. Let's move on to our code. So I'm going to click on code, and I'm going to move this over so I have some room. Now, what I want to happen is when we first play our augmented reality, I'd like for this text panel to go invisible. So I'm going to click on Actions. I'm going to scroll down until I find the Set Opacity. Remember, the opacity is whether it's invisible or not invisible. If something is totally opaque, I can see it. If something is not, that's where it's invisible. So that's why it's at 100% and I can see it. Let's move down to the cow text. So I'm going to set the opacity of the cow text to, I'm going to put 0. Okay? So watch this. If I play, notice my text is gone. Okay, let me go back. Now what I want to do is when I click the cow, I'm actually just going to duplicate this. When I click the cow, I want the opacity to go to 100%. But I don't want it to just stay on for a very long time. So I'm going to come down here to my control, and I'm going to go down to wait for 1 second. So I'm going to put this after the cow walks and all of that, and I'm going to maybe do another 2 seconds after that. Click on here and click my 2. See if I can do that. There we go. And then I'm going to actually set my opacity back to 0. Okay, let's play this. So I click on the cow, it shows up, and then you can decide how long you want it to be there. So it goes around, waits for 2 more seconds, and then it goes away. Perfect. And so that's a way for your students to be able to have something animated and moving around, but also some information about it. This would work really well if you were doing that diorama idea. So instead of just having, here's some cool things inside of a shoebox, now if you click on them, it explains something. It explains what's going on in their little diorama. So we're pulling out more information, more content of what each student has learned. There is one more thing I'd like to show you. I'm going to go to the home. When you're using this with your students, even if your students are using the MySpaces section, if they have joined the class with your class code, they're going to have something a little extra. Now, it's not going to show up on mine, but I'm going to show you where it is. See these 3 dots right here? So if you click the 3 dots over here, the very last choice will give teacher access to your space. So first, I'd like you to do that so I can see what you're working on. But also, it's really nice that your students do that so you can see what they're working on. They don't have to do any kind of other sharing other than that. What I do in my classroom is I have all of my little videos and activities on Google Classroom. The students just have to click mark is done because nothing really got turned in on Google Classroom, and that tells me they're done with this activity. Go to CoSpaces and check out their work. So again, I'd like you, and it's good for your students, to click these 3 dots. The very last choice is to set the teacher to have access. So do that so I can see it, and work on making some text boxes. From here, we'll try to start creating some ideas on how we can use this in our classroom, and we'll continue on with using CoSpaces in some further videos.